All right, welcome to Hoops Tonight, presented by FanDuel here at The Volume. Happy Monday, everybody. Hope you had a great holiday weekend. We did not get around to Phoenix, Denver last night because I did not feel like staying up till 11 p.m. on Christmas Day covering that particular game, but we're going to cover that today. Nikola Jokic has been playing too good. The Denver Nuggets have been playing too good, and I cannot, in my right mind, even on a day we're supposed to have off, overlook them on Christmas Day. So we're just going to be focusing on Phoenix, Denver from last night today. You guys know the drill. Before we get started, subscribe to the Volume's YouTube channel so you don't miss any more of our videos. Follow me on Twitter at _JasonLT so you guys don't miss any show announcements. And then last but not least, if for whatever reason you guys miss one of these videos and you can't get back over to YouTube to finish, remember you can find them wherever you get your podcasts under Hoops Tonight. All right, let's talk some basketball. So, Aaron Gordon with a posterizing dunk to seal the 7th win in 8 tries for the Denver Nuggets. He's now 3rd in the league in dunks. He one of the things that I think makes Aaron Gordon so effective as a dunker is his ability to dunk behind his head. It allows him to use his body as a shield, and it keeps his face towards where the passes are coming from the dunker spot. A lot of times when you're in that dunker spot, you're trying to find these little openings, these little soft spots where a help defender can't get to you, but you're giving a passing angle to a guy like Jokic who's good at finding cutters. And so Aaron Gordon in particular, and his ability to elevate from so many random spots around the rim and dunk is, I think, a big part of why he has so many despite not being your traditional center. It's kind of cool to see the player that Aaron Gordon has turned into. One of my favorite basketball experiences is playing in pickup games at the Richard Jefferson Center when Aaron Gordon was at the U of A, and I played in some wild talent-stacked pickup games there. And back in those days, Aaron Gordon really was just a big man. And I remember when he came into the league, it was kind of like this in-between thing where he wasn't quite good enough as a wing to be a wing, but he wasn't quite big enough to be a center. And with the direction the game has gone in, and especially with Nikola Jokic and his ability to work around the high post and the opening it creates for Aaron Gordon along the baseline, he's found a home there where he is deeply, deeply impactful. But you know, what's funny is the story is going to be the dunk, and we just spent a few minutes talking about the dunks. But I thought he made a bunch of winning plays as a defensive player in overtime. There was a play where DeAndre Ayton caught the ball in the short roll right around the free throw line, and Aaron Gordon just attacked the basketball and got a steal, which led to a basket on the other end. And then there was another play in OT where they threw a lob to Ayton at the rim, and Aaron Gordon came flying in from behind the play to make a deflection and force Ayton to miss at the rim. And then he ended up getting an offensive rebound in his own free throw miss after the dunk. KCP, similar type of deal. Like we focus so much on the plays. Like Jamal Murray was awesome down the stretch of this game. Hit 2 pull-up threes, had a driving dunk to tie the game before we sent it to overtime. You know, obviously before they sent it to overtime. Then obviously Jokic was incredible. We're going to talk about that kind of stuff, but you guys know, like, the game of basketball is more complicated than that, and you win games in the details. And you know, Aaron Gordon making defensive plays in pick and roll against Phoenix was a huge part of why they won, not just him dunking on someone in transition. A lot of times those just go down as deflections and tracking data and not necessarily as steals or blocks, depending on who they end up crediting for it on that play. So it's important to watch the film to kind of pay attention to those. And KCP, same type of thing. It's 106, 108, and the Nuggets got back-to-back transition opportunities because KCP made defensive plays, just pressuring the ball, forced a turnover that led to a run out. There's another deflection he had a couple possessions later. That's such a monumentally important part of winning is defense. And that's been an issue with Denver all season, but ironically, they're actually playing a little bit better. The Nuggets have now won 7 out of 8. They're 21-11 overall, sole possession in first place in the West. But most importantly, this is the first stretch of coherent and respectable defense they've played all season. They are 11th in defensive rating over their last 8 games. You know, it's a low bar for me to say coherent and respectable when they're not top 10. But again, what did I tell you guys about Denver before the season? I don't think they need to be the best defense in the league. They don't need to be as good defensively as the 2020 Lakers were or as the 2021 Bucks were. Those teams, their identity was caught up on the defensive end of the floor. The identity of the Nuggets is hung up on the offensive end of the floor. They in a playoff setting are going to be able to generate quality shots at a higher rate than most of their opponents because of the overall level of offensive skill on the floor, especially with Jamal Murray healthy and with Michael Porter Jr. back on the floor, and with what Nikola Jokic can do as a shot creator. So they don't need to be a top 5 defense. They just need, what did I say for the season? Somewhere in that 10 to 15 range is all they need, as long as they are as good offensively as they've been, to give themselves a puncher's chance. And then if they want to win the title and get the trophy at the end of the day, NBA history tells us you need to be in the top 10, which may be a lost cause at this point, just with how bad they've been to start the season. But if they put together 3-4 months there of fringe top 10 level defense, we can start taking them seriously. Less than 2 weeks ago, I believe it was on the 14th of December, they were 28th in the entire NBA in defensive rating. That just wasn't going to cut it. They needed to get some kind of improvement on that end of the floor. And again, you got to look at it from the perspective of matchups too. Like they're just going to struggle in particular in pick and roll against specific teams, especially teams that have really quick guards that can shoot off the dribble. So it might be in to their benefit if the Golden State Warriors end up having a trouble season filled with injuries and they end up avoiding that particular matchup, or if Dame Lillard and the Blazers end up losing in a different round. All these teams in the Western Conference in particular are flawed. And the Nuggets' flaw is they don't have quite the defensive ceiling of their opponents, but the other teams around the league also have flaws. We don't have a world-beating team. But it is encouraging to see that they're making those improvements on the defensive end of the floor. And a big part of it is Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Aaron Gordon. That's what they do. That's why they collect an NBA paycheck, is what they can do on the wing as defensive players in the league. Although KCP, man, I just love that guy. I covered him when he was with the Lakers. That another massive three-point shot off of a Jokic high post in overtime where he just relocated to the left wing. That guy is such a damn winner. And it blows my mind that the Lakers didn't value him. He's a better basketball player than Russell Westbrook right now, and was just a throw-in for salary filler in that trade. So I'm happy for Nuggets fans that they get to see what he does to help impact winning the way that I saw when I was covering the Lakers full-time over the course of the last couple of years. Let's talk about Nikola Jokic, though. This is a guy that, over the course of the last couple of weeks has not gotten enough attention from us on this show, so I'd like to rectify that today. In this 8-game stretch, he's averaging 32 points per game, 14 rebounds, and 11 assists, 59% from the field, 38% from three. Jump shots coming back around. We'll talk about that in a second. And 76% from the line. That translates to 66% in a true shooting percentage. So off the chart scoring to go with everything else that he does as a rebounder and as a playmaker. The jump shot finally going is huge. A lot of you Jokic fans probably remember me being critical of this specifically over the last couple years. And I talked about it with Anthony Davis too. When you have a big man on the floor that can't shoot, it causes a lot of problems for your offense. And even as good as Jokic was to end last year and to start this year, there was a pretty hefty shooting slump that spanned the beginning of this year and the end of last year where he could not shoot when he got away from the basket. And it was a problem because in those pick and roll actions with Jamal Murray or Michael Porter Jr., whoever it is, the inverted pick and roll, the dribble handoffs, everything that they do, you need to be a threat. And, Jokic is shooting a lot better in this stretch, 38% from three. He made 4 jump shots against the Suns last night. I want to take you guys to the game-tying dunk. Jamal Murray goes down the lane, throws down a right-handed dunk. And obviously that's exciting from the Jamal Murray side of things. Jamal looks a little bit more like himself every single night. I thought he made a bunch of important pull-up jump shots in this game. He was fantastic. But on that specific play, what happened? It was just a basic high pick and roll. I believe Mikal Bridges was guarding Jamal Murray on actually, I think it might have been a dribble handoff. But either way, it was Jokic was the screener. Jamal ended up with the basketball. And I think Mikal Bridges was guarding him. And because of Jamal Murray's ability to shoot the jumper, Mikal had to chase him over the top of the screen. But as Jamal was going downhill, DeAndre Ayton stayed home with Jokic. And as a result, was not able to stop Jamal Murray at the rim. Why? Because he was worried about the pick and pop jumper. We know, we get so defensive about these stars, and we talk about how they're playing well when they're, and they are, and there is a difference between what counts as playing well for that particular player in the absolute peak of their ability that makes them one of the best players in the world. I talk about this with LeBron often, where it's like, I've got, I'm getting 28, 7, and 5. Okay, that's great. But is he doing what he's supposed to do on the defensive end of the floor? And is he knocking down the pull-up jumpers he needs to make the coverages work on the offensive end of the floor? Is he doing those things? Because if he's not, then his impact is somewhat limited compared to what the box score results say. And that's the thing with Jokic. Like, it's very important for him to be able to knock down those pick and pop jumpers for the sake of making defenses honor him as a screener in those situations. I think his jump shot turning around is a huge part of what has led to their success, especially in late game situations like that dunk for Jamal Murray. Overall, as we zoom out a little bit, the shot creation stats are completely off the charts. 317 points on 267 post-ups now, including passes. That is 1.19 points per possession. That's insane. 89th percentile. Isolation, 39 points on 37 possessions, 1.05 points per possession, 69th percentile. As a roll man, 1.4 points per possession, 84th percentile. But here's the big one, inverted pick and roll, where he has the ball in his hands and he's having a shooter set a screen for him. And we talked about this a lot in earlier videos, but it just is really difficult to guard because you're taking responsibilities that have been different for players their entire life in flipping it. Guards in the NBA now, half of what they do when they're practicing defense is chasing guys over the screen. Bigs in the NBA now, half of what they do is practice and drop coverage, right? What if I invert that on you now? And now the big man is navigating a screen and the guard is having to contain a ball handler coming downhill or deal with the shooter popping to the three-point line. You can't. It just is an extremely difficult action to cover, and it's something that the Nuggets do often. Nikola Jokic, as a center, has run 80 pick and rolls this year and has scored 87 points on them. That's 1.09 points per possession, which is in the 84th percentile. So he's one of the best pick and roll ball handlers in the league as a center, which is insane. But I wanted to focus on the scoring because we focus on his passing a lot, as we should. We know what he does in the half court, finding cutters and shooters. We know what he does in transition, with starting the break with kick-ahead passes and a live dribble. We've talked that to death on this show, but I wanted to zoom in on the scoring just a little bit because he's scoring 32 points per game on 66% true shooting during this stretch. And I think he presents a lot of problems to defensive players. Like, he was busting Anthony Davis's ass the other night when he was in the absolute peak of his career, playing the best basketball on both ends of the floor that he's ever played. He was just burying him under the basket, getting him in foul trouble, was causing a lot of problems. Where I want to focus on Jokic in particular is his base. Post moves, post battles are battles of the lower body. It's very unusual compared to other areas of the floor. Like in isolation defense for guards and wings, it's so much about anticipating which direction a guy's going to go and having to beat them to a spot by moving your feet very quickly. Whereas the post, it's a battle of balance. So defensive players are trying to disrupt your balance so that you don't get enough lift on your post-up shot. And post-up offensive players are trying to knock you off of your balance so that they can go straight up and down and not have to fade away when they go up out of the post. So it's kind of a battle of balance and leverage one way or the other. Most post players go to either a hook shot or a fadeaway jumper over either shoulder, right? And those are just naturally really tough to contest, right? Because if I am positioning my left shoulder in your airspace and extending my right arm out here to shoot, it's going to be really difficult for you to make it through my body to get up and contest that particular shot, right? So most post defenders are going to either, one, target your shooting pocket, so they'll reach down at the basketball while you have it low to the ground, or they're going to try to knock you off your base. Because those shots, those hook shots and those fadeaways, you need lift. You need to get up off the ground and get above the defensive player to shoot. And so if I can disrupt your base and push you off balance, you'll have to fade more or you won't get enough lift and you'll miss even easy hook shots. When you see big men miss easy hook shots, more often than not, it's because the defender knocked them off balance. And so they miss a shot they'll make 90% of the time when they're in the gym by themselves. That is the key there, because Nikola Jokic has a base that cannot be disrupted. These defenders are incapable of making him lose his balance. He is constantly winning that particular physical confrontation. That's why it looks so easy for Jokic, because post shots are easy. Short little fadeaways, Short little hook shots. They're easy shots. You get a guy in the gym by himself, he's going to make that, like I said, 90 out of 100 times. It's the physical confrontation that leads to the stop or the make in post-up situations. And because Jokic cannot be disrupted in the base, he's shooting easy hook shots. Well, like I was watching him against the Lakers I think it was last week or so, or a week 10 days ago. It's like the left shoulder's in AD's chest. AD can't knock him off balance. The right hook is way out here, and even Anthony freaking Davis, potentially the best defensive player in the world, just can't do anything with him. DeAndre Ayton, a very good a post-up defender in the NBA, just can't do anything with him. And I think that's such a unique thing in the NBA these days, because we've just seen the game go leaner. We've seen the game go faster, and Jokic's strong base has become a market inefficiency that he's able to capitalize on to the tune of 32 points per game on 66% true shooting over this span. He's got one hell of an MVP case now. This is crazy. Per cleaning the glass, the Nuggets are outscoring teams by 12 points per 100 possessions with Jokic on the floor and are getting outscored by 16 points per 100 possessions when he's off. That is a 28-point swing. And so here we are with this MVP situation again. And, we don't see it often in NBA history where a guy wins 3 in a row. If I remember correctly, I think Larry Bird in the 80s was the last guy to do it. Doesn't happen often. But what are my rules for MVP? Are you in the conversation for best player in the world? I don't think Jokic is the best player in the world, but he's certainly in that conversation. Is your team good enough? They're the 1 seed in the West now. So he's the best player on the best team in the conversation for best player in the world. And that last piece for me is always value. And the team is 28 points better with him on the floor versus when he's off. So, if the Nuggets end the season with the 1 seed, he's got a damn good case. So does Giannis. So does Tatum. But Jokic is right there. And Tatum and Giannis do not have the point differential stuff that those two have. If you remember, because Steph has similar point differential stuff with the Warriors, I said if the Warriors won enough games, he might take it, because the Tatum and Giannis situation is different because their teams are so much better. But, Jokic is literally forcing himself into a conversation for MVP this year that didn't even seem possible coming off of 2 straight, and especially with how underwhelming the Nuggets were to start the season. We will be on the Nuggets a lot more here in the coming weeks. We're getting to that point in the season where we're starting to learn who the good teams are, and we're going to be focusing our energy in those directions. All right, guys, that's all I have for today. As always, I sincerely appreciate your support, and I will see you later.